Welcome to Fun with Annuities with your host, me, Stan the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent. Can annuities be fun? Can contractual guarantees be fun? Absolutely they can. Find out the brutal facts about annuities with no sales pitches or high-pressure nonsense. Just the brutal and factual annuity truth, which is all you need to hear. Let's have some fun with annuities, and let's have that fun start right now. Welcome to Fun with Annuities. I'm your host, Stan the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent, licensed in all 50 states. I'm so glad you joined us, whether you're listening on all major podcast platforms or on the Fun with Annuities YouTube channel, where you can see me and our special guest today. You can see our facial expressions and how we interact. Either way, I'm glad you joined us. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. I'm so happy he's with us. His name is Tom Hegna. He's an author, a speaker, an economist, and an unbelievably incredibly popular speaker with the industry, retirement industry, annuity industry, lifetime income. Those are the topics. That's where he excels. Just like Stan the Annuity Man is the undisputed annuity expert and America's annuity agent, Tom Hegna is known as the retirement income expert. He's a former senior executive officer at New York Life and also a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. So he's a tough dude. Here's an unbelievable fact about Tom. He's given over 5,000 seminars. I'm going to say that again, 5,000, and is just so passionate about helping baby boomers and seniors retire in what he calls the optimal way, and he's going to describe that. Tom specializes in creating very simple and powerful retirement solutions that's based on math and science, not some opinion or sales pitch. That's what I like about him. He's all about math, and annuities are all about math, and we're going to talk about that. His skill, I think, personally, is solving complex financial solutions and problems using very easy to understand language and words and stories that you can understand. He has condensed a large chunk of his huge knowledge base into 5 books. And let me tell you a bit about him. You should go there on Amazon. Paychecks and Paychecks, Retirement Solutions for Life, published in both the U.S. and Canada. Don't Worry, Retire Happy, 7 Steps to Retirement Security, both published in U.S. and Canada. We're going to talk about those 7 steps to retirement security. And he also did a book on Retirement Income Masters, Secrets of the Pros. You might have seen Tom on public television where he had a special on retirement income that was viewed in over 80 million households in the United States and Canada. Without further ado, welcome to the Fun with Annuities podcast, Tom Hegna. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Stan. I didn't know my bio was going to take up the whole podcast.
I didn't even cover it all, Tom. You know that. I was just synopsizing. So, hey, let's jump right in. Let's get to the 7 steps of retirement. I know you covered this in your book, and once again, for everybody out there, if you go to my site, theannuityman.com, we're going to have a page for Tom. You can get all of his stuff and go to his site. If you want to book him as a speaker, you can do that as well. But let's cover those 7 steps to retirement, Tom.
Yeah. So, step number 1 is you got to have a plan. I mean, how are you going to get anywhere if you don't have a roadmap or a plan of how to get there? And I say you've got to work with a financial professional. Retirement is not a do-it-yourself project. I mean, think about it. You don't do your own dental work in your garage with your drill set, and I don't think people ought to be doing their own retirement planning either. So that's step 1.
Well, and that's in a do-it-yourself world, Tom, where everyone is trading Bitcoin and trading cryptocurrency, and it's easy in a raging bull market to throw darts at things and things go up. Me and you have been around long enough to, as I say, we probably have cowboy boots older than most agents and advisors out there selling either annuities or financial products in general. But I agree with you on you need a professional. It's tough to find someone who's going to shoot it straight and tell you the truth, but you need to search and interview people as well. What's number 2?
Number 2 is to maximize your Social Security benefits. See, most people The largest retirement asset they have is Social Security, and yet they're not studying it. They're not finding out the optimal age to start it. They listen to their buddies down to the coffee shop to tell them to take it at age 62.
Right.
And that's, for most people, that's not the right age. For some people, it is, because if they have short life expectancies for both the husband and wife, if they have minor children in the house. I mean, there are reasons why you might want to take it early. But what I say is, in general, the breadwinner should delay. So if you have a husband and wife, let's say the husband made more money in his career than the wife can take her Social Security early. I don't have a problem with that. But the husband should wait, or whoever made the most money should wait, because that check covers both lives. Because when he dies, she's going to get his. If he took his early, he locked her into a lower Social Security survivor benefit. So just look, there's Social Security calculators out there. Another reason why you should sit down with a financial professional and just have them run that calculator. It will show you the optimal age based on your situation that you should draw Social Security.
And I know Tom and I both laugh when people say, I hate all annuities. And we're like, wait a minute, you already own one. It's called Social Security. And if you own a pension, you already own one. So it's, those are annuities.
And what's so funny is people love their Social Security and they love their pensions. And the people who own annuities love their annuities. You don't ever find people complaining that they have these annuities. They love them. Those checks come every single month. As long as they're breathing, those checks keep coming. And, all the math and science, the PhDs. And if you read Dr. Michael Finke, Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. Menachem Yari, Dr. Moshe Milevsky, Dr. David Babel, the list is Robert C. Merton, Nobel Prize winner. Right. They all say you must annuitize a portion of your portfolio. Nobody's saying put all your money in annuities. And remember, Stan, I don't sell any annuities. Sure. I don't get compensated on the sale of any annuities. I don't sell any of them. I own 11 annuities. Okay, I don't sell them. I don't really care if people buy them or not if they don't want to. But the math and science says that they should, and that's what I write about.
And I agree with that. And people always ask me with lifetime income annuities, they ask me a question they never ask with their pension and Social Security, which is, what's the return on investment, Stan, the annuity man? And I'm like, well, if you tell me when you're going to die, I can give it to you to the penny. Up until that point, it's a pure transfer of risk. But I do think in a raging bull market where there's fear of missing out, FOMO, and people are always, unfortunately and mistakenly, trying to time annuity purchases. And once again, there's many types of annuities. But when we're talking about lifetime income, the primary pricing mechanism is your life expectancy. Interest rates do play a minor role. That people are hung up on interest rates. Definitely. Can you speak to that a little bit more before we get to number 3 on just the interest rate conundrum we're in right now?
Yeah, and I posted a lot on it because I'm an economist, and everybody's saying, oh, inflation, lumber price up, copper prices up, every oil price up, gas price up, everything's going up. And yet the 30-year treasury is still under 2%. That's unbelievable. The 30-year government bond is under 2% when we're filming this. And so it's kind of a conundrum. The bond market does not see inflation. You and I see it. We see it every day. But I'm telling you, the bond market says it's temporary, and they don't see it as a long-term thing. And the number one thing, as you said, is longevity. And that also plays a role in Social Security. See, what people don't realize is that right now, today, the life expectancy of a 65-year-old couple is age 93. 50% of all 65-year-old couples will have somebody live to be 93. 25% of those 65-year-old couples will have somebody live to be 97. And when you plug that type of longevity into Social Security, into a calculator, or into your annuity calculations, you're going to find out that it's very, very, very important to have something that will pay you as long as you are living, as long as you are breathing. Stocks can't do that. Bonds can't do that. Real estate can't do that. Bitcoin cannot do that. But an annuity can do that.
Right. And that's the monopoly that annuities have, the lifetime income type annuities have, that no other product, like Tom said, can match. That's not a sales pitch. That's a fact. That's just a fact. So, lifetime income with 10,000 baby boomers hitting age 65 every single day. Tom and I both agree that's called a demographic tidal wave of people that are looking for guarantees. I think the hurdle with annuities, and the annuity industry has done a poor job explaining this. The only person out there that is consistently doing this right from a presentation standpoint on a national level is Tom Hegna. He talks about how these products work, expectations, buying the contractual guarantees of the policy, which is why we have him on, because the saying of this podcast is living the reality, not the dream. And the reality is the contractual guarantees of the policy. So what's number 3? Are we at number 3 yet?
Yeah, 3 is to consider a hybrid retirement. Too many people are trying to retire too early. They haven't saved enough money. If they could just work a couple extra years, even part-time, doing something they love to do, it can significantly help them retire more successfully, because they can have increased earnings, increased savings, increased Social Security benefits, and you can keep them from tapping into that portfolio for a couple of years.
That's a tough pill to swallow for the person that is going toward retirement. But those are tough conversations that I have every single day for people that contact me. You can go to my site at theannuityman.com and book a call. And I'll be brutally honest. If you say, there's a lot of times that I get a person, I say, okay, I ask 2 questions. What do you want the money to contractually do? And then when do you want those contractual guarantees to start? And if they say income, and I need it to start now or 2 years from now, whatever, then I say, well, how much income? And sometimes, like you said, Tom, they don't have enough money to contractually pull that off. Unfortunately, that's when the charlatans and the grifter, salespeople step in and go, well, this one will do that. No, you buy it for the contractual guarantee. And if the contractual guarantee doesn't hit that number for you, then Tom's right. You might want to either have that side hustle or work a little bit longer. But that's, those are retirement realities, Tom.
Yeah,
right?
And it doesn't have to be like terrible work. Like I'm
Right.
doing the hybrid retirement. I'm still doing this, but I'm not doing it like I was before. I spent 200 days a year on the road before. I'm not doing that. I'll do it virtual. I'm not going to be
Right.
I'm not going to be on the road 200 days. Now my golf game and my tennis appointments and my pickleball appointments, they're more important to me now, but I still do some work on the side, and it brings in revenue, and that it helps. And so, even somebody who likes to play golf, they could be a marshal on a golf course 2 days a week. Guess what? They get to play for free the other 5 days a week. So, it can reduce their expenses. So just be creative in doing something that can help your retirement.
And by the way, Tom's book, Paychecks and Playchecks, which I would advise you to go to Amazon and buy immediately, because it's a great, great book. That's when I first kind of found out about Tom a while back, and we've been friends ever since, just because he talks about lifestyle, and him and I, we both believe that annuities can provide, lifetime income annuities can provide lifestyle. But as he said, everything you have doesn't need to be in annuities. And certainly the annuity industry frowns upon that. Right. As well. It just needs to be a tool. And I agree with the comment Tom made, that there's a lot of smart people, the guys that have the ascots on and the smoking jackets with the leather elbow protectors. Yeah. Those smart guys are saying, hey, you might want a lifetime income. Tom and I, he refers to it as kind of like I do, as the income floor. It's the income floor that's going to hit your bank account every single month. And by the way, if you have that in place contractually, you're a better investor. I think Tom would agree with that.
Yeah. I even put 1% of my portfolio into Bitcoin, and I put that on social media, and people said, oh, his account must be hacked. He would never talk about Bitcoin. He's all about guarantees. And I said, yeah, but it's because I have so much of my money guaranteed. I can afford to take 1%. And that's all I've ever said, 1% of my portfolio, and do some very risky stuff with it. And guess what? It's done very well. I bought Bitcoin back when it was $3,000 a Bitcoin. Okay. And I just put 1% of my portfolio in there, and that's grown up. But because I have so much of my income guaranteed, I'm able to take more risk with some of my other money if I want to.
And I think people just need to remember that's how the lifetime income annuity transfer of risk, that helps as people say, well, how's it going to make me a better investor? Because that you don't have to do the 4% rule of taking 4% out of your portfolio, disrupting it. Right. You already have that in place. What's number 4?
4 is you got to have a plan to protect yourself against inflation. And for the last 30 years, inflation has been dead, and now all of a sudden it's in the news all the time. But even if we're in a deflationary environment, there's stuff that goes up. College education's going up, nursing home prices are going up, healthcare is going up. So even in a deflationary economy, there's pockets of inflation, and that's why you can't just have income for the rest of your life. You really want to figure out how you're going to have increasing income for the rest of your life. And there's really 3 ways to do it. Number 1, you can buy an annuity that automatically goes up every single year by 3 or 4 or 5%. You can pick that up front, or you can cover your basic living expenses in retirement with guaranteed lifetime income, and then invest the rest of your money into stocks and real estate and other things that go up in times of inflation. So if we have inflation, there's going to be more money to take out more money. Or you can do what I've done. I bought guaranteed lifetime income that kicks in when I turn age 60, but I bought more that kicks in when I turn age 62. I bought more that kicks in when I turn age 65. I bought more that kicks in when I turn age 70. So I am guaranteed to have increasing income for the rest of my life. And your listeners can do that as well, of course.
And that's what I call laddering income.
Yeah.
And you can ladder lifetime income. You can ladder the purchase date. You can ladder the income start date, like Tom's doing. And that is truly the best way to address inflation using lifetime income annuities. Tom mentioned earlier the number one was you can buy annuities that increase, and that's increase the income, whether it's a cost of living adjustment or an index or whatever. That sounds really good on face, but I want to remind our viewers and listeners that annuity companies have the big buildings for a reason, and they have the logos on the plane for the reason, and they are sponsoring sports stadiums for a reason. And that reason is they don't give anything away. So anytime that you are looking at an annuity type, regardless of the lifetime income type of annuity, if you're going to attach an increase to that income stream, the annuity company is going to significantly lower that income amount to make up for that increase. So they're not just going to give it away. Yes, they give it away with Social Security because politicians don't care. They're just trying to get votes. But people need to understand that, yes, you can have increasing income levels every year with annuities, but those companies don't give it away. I'm not saying don't buy it. The way that we use that, Tom, is, if people are buying multiple annuities, maybe one has the inflation increase and one does not. But again, it all comes down to contractual guarantees. And if you're interested in looking at inflation versus non-inflation, say immediate annuities, go to my site, theannuityman.com, schedule a call with me. I'll run them real time and send it to you. And you can see how the annuity company prices that. But totally agree with what Tom, the three things Tom said, which is buy an annuity and that has increased to inflation. We just explained that. And then the third one was, have income start at different intervals, which I think is good. The second one I think is very, very important, which is put in the income floor, knowing that there will be inflation, and then investing the rest. And then when inflation hits, at that point in time, you can always do what I call a reverse engineer quote to solve for that inflation amount using a single premium immediate annuity. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, but we just want them to have increasing income over time, because inflation is like a virus. It gets worse every year. And then step number 5 is you need to secure more guaranteed lifetime income. And that is a key part of retirement. And it's key for a number of reasons. Number one, the number one risk in retirement is longevity. I mean, there's a lot of risks. There's market risk, there's withdrawal rate risk, there's sequence of returns risk. We might have inflation, might have deflation, might raise your taxes, you might die, you might need long-term care. There's a lot of risks in retirement. But the number one risk is longevity, that you live a long time. And the annuity is the only product in the world you can buy that can mitigate that longevity risk, because as long as you're breathing, or you and your spouse are breathing, if you have a joint annuity, those checks are coming guaranteed for the rest of your lives. And that is so important. And then there's 2 additional reasons why it's important. Number 1, you're going to be happier. The Wall Street Journal said the secret to a happy retirement is friends, neighbors, and a fixed annuity. And what they found is that the happiest people in retirement were those people who are surrounded by their friends, surrounded by their families, who had guaranteed paychecks every single month. I would encourage your listeners, who are your happiest friends in retirement? I'll bet it's retired military, retired government, retired teachers, retired firefighters. It's people with pensions. So happiness in retirement is tied almost 100% to guaranteed lifetime income, not assets. Who are the most miserable people you know? They're loaded, but they're losing money in this, and they're losing money in this, and they're losing money in this, and these people are miserable. Assets make people miserable in retirement. Guaranteed lifetime income makes people happy. And then the second thing is, the research now shows people who have guaranteed income tend to live longer. I'm not making this stuff up. You can look it up on Freakonomics. The Journal for Financial Service Professionals had an entire article on, longevity insurance. Does longevity insurance increase longevity? And it's all about annuities. And what they found is that the average 65-year-old male will live about 20% longer if they have an annuity versus if they don't. Now, it doesn't mean that buying an annuity automatically makes you live longer. I mean, maybe people who have bad, life expectancy don't buy annuities, but having that guaranteed income has been proven through centuries, because remember, annuities have been around for thousands of years. The Roman Empire issued annuities because running out of money has been the number one concern of people ever since there's been people and there's been money. It's not a new concern, but you're likely to be happier and you're likely to live longer if you have guaranteed lifetime income.
Tom, what's your site address?
TomHegna.com. Very easy.
TomHegna.com. That's TOMHEGNA.
Yep.
.com, all one word. I would encourage you to go there. There's a lot of good stuff there for you to take in. And if you're looking for a good speaker for your organization, I recommend Tom Hegna. He's fantastic. In fact, I kidded Tom the last time we were together. I was like, we need to go on like a world tour, like a US tour, and do a co-headlining, because my speaking style is a little bit more abrasive than Tom's, but it's still factual. But I think we'd knock the cover off the ball. Definitely. The problem is we're both just getting older. One of the things that you mentioned in there was just the guaranteed income, but I wanted to make sure that our listeners and our viewers understand one thing. One of the biggest misconceptions about lifetime income type annuities, and that would be immediate annuities, deferred income annuities, qualified longevity annuity contracts, and income writers, of which I've written books on all of those. You can go to my site at theannuityman.com and I'll send them to you. But what people need to understand is that if your Learjet hits the mountain, if you die, that's how I call people dying. If your rented Learjet hits the mountain, you can structure your annuity so that 100% of any unused money will go to your family or listed beneficiaries or charity of choice, and the evil annuity company doesn't keep a penny. I find one of the biggest misconceptions, Tom, is that people, I never buy an annuity because I don't want the annuity company to keep the money. That's one of about 40 ways to structure a lifetime income annuity. What you need to tell a professional, hopefully me, is that this is what I wanted to do. This is how I want to structure it. You can have money coming back, cash refund when you die to the beneficiaries, or you can structure it as a payment form to the beneficiaries. Quick story, my two daughters one's a dancer, one's a writer, which means they'll never make any money. But I want to make sure that with my annuities that they're not going to get the lump sum because they'll helicopter in to the funeral and then drive away in a Ferrari. At least I want them making payments. You can structure it and handcuff those beneficiaries for any unused money. But the other thing, before we get to the next point, is that remember, when the account is drawn down to zero, the annuity company is still on the hook to pay. And that's truly the value proposition of a lifetime income stream annuity. And with COVID did not disrupt life expectancy as people thought. It really did not, if you look at the stats. And I do think that as a country and as a world, we're going to have better medical care because of this. I actually think life expectancy tables will go up. Do you?
Well, yeah, and Moshe Milevsky, Dr. Milevsky's done a lot of work on this, and he said, like, I don't remember, it was 1915 or 1920, whenever that last Spanish flu was, life expectancy went down for like a year, and then it spiked up because all it really did was people who were going to die anyway, many of them died a year earlier. And then everybody else ended up living longer. And so I think we're going to see that life expectancy is going to spike again. But I just want to say one thing on this guaranteed lifetime income. It's those mortality credits, and we could literally do an entire show on mortality credits that guarantees you'll never run out of money. But even when people pick life only, because that's what you were talking about, a life only, where people think the insurance company keeps the money, the insurance company does not keep the money. That money goes to the other people that pick life only and live. That's why the payout rate is higher. But like people don't want that to happen. You pick life with cash refund. I've even shown doing joint life with a grandpa and his 5-year-old granddaughter. Now he gets a check for the rest of his life. When he dies, she gets a check for the rest of her life. That thing can pay for 100 years. That's what people don't understand about this guaranteed lifetime income. It's really an incredible product. That
strategy I deemed, and I've written about it, I call it the legacy income monster, because I had a recent 82-year-old great-grandfather did a joint lifetime income with a 5-year-old. And same thing. If you really want legacy, and have a monthly check hit the bank account of your loved ones. You'll be dead and gone, and they'll be looking lovingly on you
Yeah.
and bringing flowers to your grave.
And they'll always remember you. I used to hand out a piece of paper to people with 4 lines on the top and 8 lines on the bottom. I say, now do me a favor, jot down the first and last name of your 4 grandparents. Well, almost everybody can do that because they know their grandparents. And then I said, now in these 8 lines, just jot down the first and last name of your 8 great grandparents. Go ahead. It should just take a minute. Well, I've never had anybody remember the first and last name of their great grandparents. And I said, you know what's so interesting? John D. Rockefeller's great grandkids, they all remember his first and last name. You know why? Because every year they get a check from John D. Rockefeller. And we've found if you get a check from somebody every year, it helps your memory.
No, it definitely does. Going back to mortality credits, and I do want to have you back on where we just dig into that.
Yeah.
Can you spend a little bit of time there and give people maybe the 30,000-foot view of mortality credits with annuity payments and why people need to fully understand it?
Yeah, well, see, like, let's say there's 1,000 people out there. The insurance company does not know when each one of them is going to die, but they do know for a fact that 500 of them will die before the other 500. They just don't know who they are. But because they know that, they can pay all 1,000 a higher payout rate because they know they're really going to have to pay that to half the people. And so I wrote this white paper called Retirement Alpha. It's just a little thing. And in there,
now where can they get that Retirement Alpha?
Well,
he held it up to the viewers,
yeah.
But for the podcast listeners, it's called Retirement Alpha. Where's that?
Yeah, TomHegna.com. It's there. But what's interesting about that is one of the advisors referred to mortality credits as other people's money. He said, look, I work with a bunch of baby boomers. None of them have enough money to retire. But if I put them all together and they all pick life only, the payout rate is high enough that they'll all make it. Now, some of them are going to die early. And that money would then go to the ones who live longer. And he said, you don't have enough of your own money to retire. I got to find you some other people's money. And that's what he called mortality credits, was other people's money. It's extra money from the risk pool, the entire risk pool. It's like the opposite of life insurance. How can an insurance company afford to sell $1 million life insurance policy for $20 a month? A 20-year-old can buy $1 million policy for $20 a month.
Right.
Well, they know not many 20-year-olds are going to die. You see, and so they can keep that premium low. And it's just like a 90-year-old can buy an annuity with a guaranteed 20% payout rate. Well, how can an insurance company guarantee 20% a year for the rest of life? Because they know that 90-year-old's not going to live that long, probably. But if they do, they're on the hook to pay that as long as they're living. And people just don't understand these mortality credits are better the older you are and the longer you live. So a 90-year-old is going to get a lot more mortality credits than a 40-year-old. But then the 40-year-old is going to get paychecks for a lot longer than the 90-year-old. So, but it's all based in math and science, because the people who set the payout rates are called actuaries. Do you know what actuaries have to study to become actuaries? They have to study math and science. Life insurance and annuities are based in math and science.
Yeah, they're not studying social discourse. These are math dudes and math dudettes out there that are doing that. By the way, going back to the COVID thing, and we talked about people passing away that were probably going to pass away. Tom and I want to make sure that you understand that we certainly, our hearts go out to all of you out there that's had people pass away unexpected. That doesn't lessen what you've gone through, certainly, and it's been a roller coaster ride. What we were trying to point out is that if you look at the stats, the people that did pass, a lot of them were in their 80s. A lot of them have kind of surpassed life expectancy or getting close to it, and a lot of them had pre-existing conditions. But I don't know about you, Tom, this has been an interesting moment in time, the whole COVID thing. I know that from a business standpoint, we were talking about it earlier, that business was we're fortunate. We're blessed that business was good during that time period, but for a lot of people, it was not.
Yeah, and I was really talking about the Spanish flu, about people who were going to die, and I wasn't really talking about COVID necessarily, but COVID did take out a large number of older people and people with health problems.
Yes.
And those are facts too. But there were some young people that just died like that. And so we still don't know all the details on that. But I think you will see life expectancy spike upwards now. It has come down because of COVID. But I think what Dr. Milevsky said is that just like after the Spanish flu, then life expectancy spiked.
Do you expect life expectancy tables from annuity companies to increase in the next 5 years? Like, Are they going to readjust those? What's your opinion?
Oh,
I'm not going to hold you to it. Okay.
Absolutely. I think as people live longer, the payout rates are going to have to come down in these on the new sale annuities. That's why I think it's so important to get them today. I've told people for the last 10 years, I'm buying as many annuities as I can because these are the highest mortality credits I'm likely to see for the rest of my life. Because as long as people keep living longer and longer and longer, they're going to have to lower these payout rates because they're going to have to pay it for longer and longer. And so I would say get those annuities as soon as you can. Yeah.
By the way, as a reminder, Tom Hegna doesn't sell annuities.
I don't
He's just
sell
an
annuities.
expert. He doesn't sell anything. He's just one of the best speakers on the planet. His books sales are in the top 1% of all books sold. I mean, he's sold that many. And again, I would encourage you to go and order his books. One's called Don't Worry, Retire Happy, and the other is Paychecks and Playchecks. If you just type in those, and we'll have links to those on my site as well. But I encourage you, if you're doing your research on retirement, which you should, then those books have to be on your shelf as part of the foundational learning that that you need to do. And if you feel like annuities might be something you need to look at, then I'll send you my books, my 7 books on annuities and the annuity types. You just go to my site, theannuityman.com. So the interesting part about that comment about life expectancy tables, Tom, is everybody's worried about interest rates and interest. Should I buy it now? Are interest rates too low? Are they going to move up? And I've been saying this just like you, Tom. We might be the only 2 people on the planet saying it. I think there's as much risk on life expectancy tables changing against you as there are interest rates.
Yeah.
Correct.
And for interest rates, I look at the 30-year U.S. government bond because these are the bond market is the smartest.
You don't look at
market
the 10-year. You look at the 30.
The 30 because 30 inflation hurts the 30-year bond the most. And so like if we're going to have inflation, if interest rates are going higher, you're going to see it first in the 30-year bond because those people are buying something for 30 years. Like, would you want to lock in your money right now for 1.9, I think it's 1.96% today for 30 years? That's what the bond market, the smartest people in the world are putting their money for 30 years at 1.93% interest. And so that's telling me that interest rates are not going up. I mean, if interest rates are going up and if inflation was here, that 30-year bond would not be at 1.9%. It would be at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% because those people have the biggest risk. If inflation hits and interest rates spike, all those people who bought annuities at bought government bonds at 1.94%, they're all going to lose a ton of money. Yeah, you can lose a ton of money in U.S. government bonds. If interest rates go up, the value of bonds goes down. But what that's telling me is the smartest market in the world is loading up on these bonds at 1.9 something %, and they don't see interest rates going up for over 30 years. So, who am I to go against the smartest market in the world? I don't see interest rates moving much. I'm not saying they couldn't go up. Sure. They go up and down, but I don't see, I am on the record saying the 10-year government bond will go negative before it ever hits 4%. And you can hold me to that.
I agree with you.
The world is
totally.
Still facing deflation, not inflation. And people don't understand that. They're reading the papers and we see prices going up, but the world is still facing deflation risk.
Well, also, Tom, we're in blue water strategy here. Blue water means we've never seen it before. So the last time money was printed like this was, I think, World War II. And some people can say COVID's the war. I agree with that. But we've never seen this. And there's no motivation for the government to raise interest rates on themselves. It'd be like me and Tom and I raising our mortgage rate if we had one on ourselves. So I agree with Tom. It could go negative. It could go to 0. And if it does, they're just going to print more money. So people that are waiting for that 4-year, 10-year treasury, we might not see that, Tom, in our lifetime.
It's probably decades before interest rates go up a lot. But again, it's the life expectancy that really matters in the annuity. Step number 6 is you must have a plan for long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. It's the one thing most people forget about that can wipe out their entire life's work. And this is very personal to me because both of my parents had Alzheimer's. Both of them went into assisted living. Now, I made them buy long-term care insurance 18 years ago. They didn't want to. It's too expensive. We'll never need it. It's an insurance company ripoff. My dad said all those words to me. I made them buy it. Well, they were both in assisted living, $10,000 a month. Both my parents were teachers up in Minnesota, small towns. There were years my mom rarely made over $10,000. There were many years my dad didn't make over $10,000 a year. And $10,000 a month, I can't imagine the retirement if they didn't have those policies. And for people who say it's too expensive, here's what I have to say. If you think long-term care insurance is expensive, man, you ought to try not having it, because
Yeah, try
that'll wipe
paying
you
for
out.
long-term care.
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer in that. I do not sell long-term care, but I do refer people to the number one long-term care expert, in my opinion, in the country. And we had a podcast with him, Tom, his name's Jack Lindenberg. And what I like about the new long-term care policies is a lot of them are asset-based, meaning that you're not throwing your money down a rabbit hole. Another misconception about long-term care is, well, I just don't want to, pay in, and then I never use it. Well, with the newer policies, whether they're annuity based or life insurance based, however you want to look at them, and I can point you to Jack Lindenberg's site if you go to my site at theannuityman.com. I mean, if you don't use it, your beneficiaries will get the money back. So things have changed in the long-term care world. Now, obviously, annuity companies and life insurance companies and health insurance companies, they want to insure young, healthy people, but there are some long-term care products out there. And I think the biggest thing with you mentioning that, and I appreciate you having that as number 6, is people just need to know it's not what you think it is. Kind of like when people say, well, I don't want to buy an annuity because when I die, my insurance company keeps the money. No, I mean, Tom explained the details of that and mortality credits and how that works. But the same thing applies with long-term care. You can get the coverage, yet control the asset. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, because with the asset-based long-term care, the premiums are guaranteed never to go up. That's nice. It can be an emergency fund. Most of them have full money back guarantee. So if you need your money out, you get your money out. If you don't use it and you die, it normally about doubles as a death benefit, tax-free to your heirs. And if you do need it, it's almost triple the bucket of money for long-term care. So it's an emergency fund. It's a legacy fund for your family. And it's a long-term care fund, and it all grows tax deferred, and so those are, and the premiums are guaranteed never to go up. So those would be, if people are worried about their long-term care insurance, that might be a great option.
No, I totally agree. So what's number 7? We got to
7.
Number 7.
7 is to use your home equity wisely. For people, their house is normally one of their largest assets. There are basically 3 ways to do it. You can sell your home and downsize and move to Arizona. That's where I live, or Florida, where you live. We can enjoy our lives. And if you're single, you can capture up to $250,000 tax-free in capital gains. If you're married, you can capture up to $500,000 tax-free in capital gains. That can help. You can take a loan against the equity, or you can do a reverse mortgage. Now, let me tell you where I come down on reverse mortgages, both in the book and the TV show. Here's what I say. I am not for reverse mortgages, but I'm not against reverse mortgages. They are a tool that can be used in retirement. But my best professional advice is this. Number 1, be very, very, very careful. Yes. Number 2, work with a reverse mortgage expert. But having said that, your listeners are going to read many more positive articles written by very respected sources like the American College, Dr. Wade Pfau, Jamie Hopkins, Mary Beth Franklin, Don Graves. So there's some great material out there. Just be very careful and work with a reverse mortgage expert. Now, another step that I don't have a number to is you should use life insurance to pass wealth to your children and grandchildren. I always tell people, don't leave them any money. You're supposed to spend your money. The last check you ought to write out to go to the undertaker, and that baby had to bounce, okay? You're supposed to spend your money. Leave them life insurance. And you can do that for pennies on the dollar. So let me use me as an example. We got 4 kids, and one day we're sitting around saying, how much should we leave the kids? My wife said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids a beneficiary, when we're both gone, they're going to get $1 million tax-free. So that's $250,000 a piece tax-free, plus whatever's left over. Let's start there. So we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name 4 kids a beneficiary. That policy is completely paid up. Do you know what the total cost of that $1 million policy was? $150,000. So now think about this. For 15 cents on the dollar, we get to transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. But here's the best part. Who gets to spend all the rest of the money? We do. See, you're not getting any younger. You don't get to take any of it with you. What are you trying to be? The richest guy in the cemetery? You're supposed to spend your money, leave them life insurance for pennies on the dollar. And if they just follow these simple steps, any person can have a happier and more successful retirement than if they try to just wing it and do it on their own in the stock market and all that. That's not going to work, because a sequence of returns, risk, and all these other things that we could do a whole nother show on.
Well, and that's his book. Don't Worry, Retire Happy. You should get that book. I always tell people that life insurance is the best return on investment you'll never see because you're dead. I mean, it really is. And there's the other thing that I like what you said, and I tell people this, and I'm from the deep South, so things come out a little corny sometimes, but you need to spend your money. You need to go live your life. You need to stop waiting and procrastinating, because as they say in the South, there's no U-Hauls behind hearses, Tom Hegna.
Right.
And, if you see one, take a picture and send it to me.
Well, and it has to do a lot with psychonomics. So I speak about math, science, and economics, but I've been speaking more about psychonomics, because think about it this way. You got something from your company every 2 weeks your entire working career. It was called a paycheck. Now, what did you do with that paycheck? You spent it. You paid for your house, paid for your car. You went on trips. You bought stuff. You got and spent a paycheck every single 2 weeks for your entire working career. You never had a problem with that. But when was the last time you raided your 401k and took $200,000 out of your IRA and 401k? Oh, no, we can't do that. We got to save it. We got to grow it. We got to protect it. We can't touch it. Well, you do that for 45 years. Do you honestly think on your 65th birthday, you're going to wake up and say, by golly, I'm going to blow my 401k today? You can't do it. People can't spend their assets. They've been psychonomically programmed to never touch them. And most people go to their graves never touching their assets. And so what the math and science says is you should take a portion, for most people that'd be 20 to 40% of their portfolio, and put that into guaranteed lifetime income. Now you got these paychecks and playchecks coming in every single month. You can spend them. And they just, as long as you're breathing, those checks never run out. And that's proven that you're going to be happy in retirement, and you're likely going to live longer in retirement. These are not my opinions. This is the research of PhDs all around the world on retirement.
What's a play check, Tom? Tell people what I think they know, but I need you to drive a play. People know what paychecks are. What's a play check?
A play check allows me to go play golf whenever I want to. I can go on trips whenever I want to. If we want to go to the casino and put $100 on red and spin the wheel once or twice, we can do that. That's a play check. It's things that we want to do. Not that we have. See, a paycheck covers your mortgage, your cell phone bill, your car insurance, your car payment, whatever your bills are. That's the paycheck. The play check is all the fun stuff. And that's what you want. You want to get to a place where you got these play checks coming in as, golly, we really should spend this money because it just keeps coming. We got to spend it. And that's when people are the happiest. They tend to live. If older people, their world starts getting really small when my parents got really old. And if they can live for one more paycheck, oh, I think I can hang on for one more check. Oh, I think I feel good. I'm going to hang on for one more check.
Right.
And these checks cause them to hang on for longer, and they live longer. I mean, again, these are not opinions. You can read the research I've read. I put all the research in my books, my white papers. I don't make this stuff up. This is math and science.
And once again, it's Tom Hegna, Hegna. So TOMHEGNA.com. I would encourage you to go there. He has a lot of good stuff, but primarily you need to start with his two books. Don't Worry, Retire Happy, and then Paychecks and Playchecks, which Tom was just talking about, which, is kind of the retirement income Bible out there for a lot of not only retirees, but also advisors, because Tom speaks and educates and trains, if they're listening, advisors and agents as well on how to position lifetime income transfer risk annuities. And he's doing yeoman's work. I mean, he should be, if there was a president of the annuity industry, it should be Tom Hegna, in my opinion. When you're speaking out there, Tom, when people walk up to you after the event, and you always have that, because I've been to a couple of your events and they line up to talk with you, what's the common theme you're hearing from not only your listeners, but your readers when they email you? What's keeping them up at night?
Well, I mean, people are worried about Social Security. They're worried about the stock market. They're worried about inflation. But I get a lot of people who say, okay, Tom, what should I do with my money? Now, I don't even know this person from Holy Ground. They want me to tell them what to do. And I say, well, look, if you can answer me these two questions, I might be able to help you. What do you want your money to do for you while you're alive? Right. And what do you want it to do when you die? And it's just like you, Stan, because you do work with people. If they answer those two questions, you can normally put them on a really good path towards happy retirement. And one last thing, I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. So I did a trial retirement 2 summers ago. I wanted to see, could I really get off the road? Could I really do this? Would we drive each other crazy? Would I get bored? I had the time of my life. So I did it again last year. And now I pretty much am in semi-retirement. My handicap is the lowest it's ever been. I won the club championship at my golf
Nice.
course. I'm the oldest club champion in course history. See, that to me now is more important than doing what I've been doing for the last 30 years. And so I'm working on my golf game, I'm working on pickleball, I'm working on tennis, and that's what and we're having fun. We just went to San Antonio on the Riverwalk for 4 days.
Good.
We're going to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks. We want to do the Panama Canal Cruise. We got this bucket list of stuff now that we want to work off because look, I lost my dad 2 years ago. I lost my mom this year. I lost my best golfing buddy at age 56. You start figuring this thing out. This is not a forever deal.
No.
And I don't want to be the richest guy in the cemetery, and I'm not gonna be. All right, I'm gonna live my life, and I'm not worrying, and I'm retiring, and I'm happy. And I said, what good it would be if the guy who writes the book, "Don't Worry, Retire Happy," doesn't retire and he's not happy? That wouldn't be any good. So I am not just talking the talk; I'm walking the walk.
I'm not sure how you can improve upon those two books, but are you still? I know you're still speaking, but are you still writing?
Yeah, and I've got one that it's hard, because I got so much stuff going on. But this one is for millennials. It's how to become a millionaire. Who wants to be a millionaire? That's basically it. And I show millennials how simple it is in America to become a millionaire today. I believe most every American could do it if they really wanted to. They have to be disciplined. You're not going to do it in Dogecoin, okay? And I hate to tell you, AMC and GME are probably not going to do it for you. But I can show people how to become a millionaire the right way, and it's about making more money, it's about spending less money and investing into appreciating assets. So that's going to be the theme of that book. It's going to be for millennials on how to become wealthy in America today.
Next year, we're looking for that.
We'll see. I mean, I put a goal to have it done this summer, and I've got about 27 pages done. So, I mean, I got a lot of work to go.
I understand. Great story about Tom. And last time I saw him, I used to be this huge coffee drinker. So we met for breakfast. We're both traveling. I said, "Hey, man, I'm in town. Let's get together." And so we sat down, and Tom, he's a professional traveler. I mean, the dude he knows what he's doing. So he pulls out these tea bags, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "No, this is my kind of tea. I love this tea, and I bring it with me." Since that time, and you don't know this, I didn't tell you this before we got on the podcast. I now drink tea, and I credit Tom Hegna with that because I'm like, well, let me try that because the coffee kind of eats your stomach up a little bit. And ever since then, and that was years ago, I'm like this tea fanatic, which makes sense if you're from the South, but I'm talking about warm tea. But Tom Hegna's not only given me nuggets of wisdom through his life, he gave me, the habit of the daily warm tea. I don't know, what was the a
cinnamon tea. It's Bigelow cinnamon tea. I love it. It's called Cinnamon Stick. I take it everywhere I go. It's not because I'm cheap and I don't want to pay 30 cents for a tea bag. That's not it. It's my favorite tea. I bring it on the airplane. I bring it to my hotels. I bring it everywhere because that's my tea. And then I drink iced tea the rest of the day. But in the morning, I drink the hot tea.
So anybody listening out here from Bigelow, you might want to send that case of tea to Tom Hegna. Go to tomhegna.com. What do you think of these markets? We're closing up a little bit here, but I got a couple more questions for you. We've both seen it all. We both have been through market cycles. I started, a long time ago, 3 decades ago. You've been in it a long time. What do you think of these markets here? And what do you tell the retirees? I know you're saying I agree with you, put that retirement income floor in place, but what are you saying about markets here with your experience viewing
Well,
this?
I mean, there's just so much funny money that's been printed that's worked its way in the market. So the market is significantly overvalued where it should be. I would tell people I'm not anti-stock market at all. I have, I have a chunk of money in the market as well. But I have learned this. I am better sticking with quality stocks, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, maybe even Boeing or something, but stick with the top rated stocks. I think you're going to be better than if you're going after all this, AMC and GME and Dogecoin and all that stuff. And if you want to speculate, and all that stuff is speculating, I'm not against speculating, but speculating should be somewhere between 1% and 3% of your portfolio, not 50%, not 30%, 1% to 3%. I put 1% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. I'm very comfortable with that because if I lose 1%, it's not going to affect my life. But if it goes to $1 million of Bitcoin, it'll sure help me. So that's why I do that. But I'd be very cautious about this market. I mean, because when it goes, it's going to go. And as we saw last time, everything went down. Stocks went down, bonds went down, gold went down, Bitcoin everything went down. There's no safe haven except for fixed annuities. Basically, there was not much of a safe haven. I mean, when everything goes down, it goes down, and it can be ugly. And you don't want to lose money right before or right after retirement, because that's the riskiest time of your investing life.
And I tell people all the time, having come from that side of the ledger where I work with Dean Witter and Morgan Stanley, Payne Weber, and UBS, at the time of this taping, over 85% of all trades are non-human, algorithmic, black box, high velocity. So it's a different market. It's an institutional market. It's a 24/7, 365 market. Unfortunately, us peons don't get to do the 24/7, 365. So, I would be very careful. I think that's sage advice. Two last questions. The first one is about blockchain. And blockchain, for the people out there, is the technology and the underlying foundation of the Bitcoins and the cryptos and all that stuff. But blockchain technology is more than just cryptocurrency. Do you see blockchain affecting the annuity and life insurance industry in a positive way? Yes or no?
I think so, because it allows transactions to happen with transparency yet anonymous, which is really weird, that everybody can see what's going on, and there's a number or code of what's going on, but you can't see who just did that. And so I think almost every industry has been using blockchain to help their supply chains, to help their inventory. Maybe annuity issuers can become more efficient. Maybe they can mitigate some risks that we don't even talk about day to day that are actuarial type risks. So I do think that over time, it will be a positive.
One last thing. Closing comment from you just about retirement and what we covered here, just sage wisdom from Tom Hegna.
Well, retirement, people think it's about real estate, or it's about the stock market, or it's about how much money is my 401k. That's not what it's about. It's about how much guaranteed lifetime income do you have, and have you taken the appropriate risks off the table? Have you mitigated long-term care risk? Have you mitigated inflation risk? Have you mitigated sequence of returns risk, market risk, inflation, deflation? What about taxes? Mm-hmm. And most people who do it themselves, they have blind spots. Oh, yeah, I had a good quarter. Oh, man, I made 30% last year. Yep. Okay, yeah, what happens when the market crashes 50%? And then you're determined that you need long-term care. And, oh, by the way, they just doubled your taxes, and now inflation's at 5%. Then what? And so I just think too many people have blind spots, which is why they need a Stan the Annuity Man to help them out and show them what the blind spots are, and then they can choose which ones they want to protect against.
Ladies and gentlemen, that rock star you just heard is named Tom Hegna. Go to his site, tomhegna.com. We will have him on again. I want to dig into the mortality credits topic as well. But I really appreciate you being here, Tom. And I appreciate everybody that's watching on the Fun with Annuities YouTube channel and all listening on all the major podcast platforms. We will see you next week on Fun with Annuities. Thanks for listening to Fun with Annuities. Please hit the subscribe button and make sure to go to my site at theannuityman.com, where you can run your own SPIA, DIA, and QLAC quotes and see a live feed of the best MYGA fixed rates in the country, and even get indexed and income rider quotes as well. You can also sign up for my 6 Annuity Owner's Manual books, and I'll ship them for free and under no obligation. I also encourage you to schedule a one-on-one call with me, Stan the Annuity Man, so we can have a full discussion of your specific situation. It will be the best brutally factual and truthful advice you will ever get, and that's one guarantee you should definitely take advantage of. So join me next time for the #1 annuity podcast on the planet, Fun with Annuities.